And away we go.
All right. So, how's the day going by? You know what? I always ask that, but yeah. How's your day?
That is going great.
Yeah, same here. The day's going great for me as well. I got a good workout in for 30 minutes. I'm gonna try to do an hour tomorrow, and for the most part, the day was just went by smoothly. I did the things that I set out to do. I got a doctor's appointment, but just a general checkup. But for the most part, yeah, today's going by pretty well. It's cloudy, but hey. I'm definitely comfortable and I'm just grateful to just be alive, and that's about it.
Yeah, me too.
Hey, so for the most part it's like, things have hasn't really been that busy. I definitely got like, some other stuff that like, I'm doing like, behind like on the side, like for the most part. We're just gonna see what happens and see if something comes from it. But so far, like, do you have anything planned?
Well, actually, tomorrow, there's this party I'm going to. It's to celebrate my final year at the the Trap. If you know, you know. And once that's done, I'm gonna continue with the rest of my week before the first the first session starts throughout the year. And then once I finish all my sessions for the academic year, there's going to be the ceremony. We wear these hats and these gowns. We throw the hats in the air. Yeah, yippee! And then we pay the student debts.
The student debt. That doesn't sound good at all. Then we pay the student debts. Like,
Yes,
you said all the happy stuff, and then you said then we pay the student debts.
yes, that's the joke. It's so ironic.
Yeah,
It's all
I'll
it's
be.
all good until you have to. It's all good until finance and paying debts are in the.
Hey man, it is what it is at the end of the day. It is what it is at the end of the day. It's the price of like going to a high class school, and it's the price of going to school in general. I mean, for the most part, yeah, you just got to pay the debts off, or somehow try to get out of paying the debts. But either way, something is gonna get paid.
Yes. The
Hey,
only reason I will say the only reason I'm only doing this is because it's part of my financial plan. If it wasn't part of my financial plan, I wouldn't do it to begin with. However, I have said this, and also my family have been very successful. They knew the ropes. We're fortunate to have very good connections to get by. And of course, in the next year or two, the stage is set for me to be used as some kind of valuable to enhance the rhetoric and the agenda of the higher ups.
hmm. By used, what do you mean?
Okay, so back in the day, I was semi-viral on Musical.ly, now TikTok,
Yeah.
and of course, I have said that for years. My family has done very well for themselves. Like one of them is an events manager for a time and has done very well for herself, and even married a famous content creator with like hundreds, like tens of thousands of followers. And I think my
I don't.
granddad, paternal granddad, he was once a famous footballer back in the day, and to this
Oh,
day everyone still talks about him, even though, from what I've heard from my father, that by the time his contract ended, he wasn't called for any other clubs and kind of went on about his life as normal as any average person could be, and
so like,
still pretty well for themselves.
after his contract, they pretty much stopped calling him for stuff.
Yeah, like from what I've heard, I don't think there wasn't any interest from any other clubs in the country to have them over on the squad. So, but things happen for a reason. Even if it looks like things are not going to be as good, it will be better once you actually get into it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true, man. A lot of things happen for a reason. So I guess it wasn't meant for him to like do that for a long time, only just for like a temporary couple of years, and then to just like move on with his life. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool that he still gets recognized to this very day.
Yeah, and also to answer the question, how am I going to be used? I've said this analogy or saying in the past, like the world is a stage and also a video game. You have the audience. They are watching what goes on the stage. I, at some point, will be a performer on the stage. reenacting in major news headlines and getting involved with various connections. And if that all drives up the buzz, and then once I get enough buzz, by the time the performance ends, I'm going to be given more opportunities to be involved in more major news headlines with other connections. But of course, there's a few small percentage of people which are the video gamers. These video gamers control the outcomes of what these performers are doing on stage. They can choose what dialogue each person gets, what should be the outcome, the aftermath, and what reaction do they want to get from the masses. Once they got what they want, they come up with the next storyline and figure out the next game plan for the next set of major news headlines, which I could possibly be involved with.
Okay. So, okay, essentially, in order to be on this stage, you would have to, like, pretty much, because you said, like, this was, like, a stage in a video game, because, like, so pretty much, like, in order to be part of this stage or the video game that you're talking about, you would have to, like, like, from what I'm hearing is, like, pretty much you would have to comply to like, a certain extent in order to, like, get, like, this and that, etc.
Yes,
Right?
exactly. But of course, to get to that position to begin with, you got to know the right people. It's not just one thing to have the skills and the talents that people are looking for. You got to know the right people to put in a good word for you. Once they know what you're all about, then they will consider it. You give it your all, and then they'll say, okay, we'll bring you on. Here's what you're gonna do. And then from that point, history will be in the making.
Got you. All right. So, like, I forgot, do you want to be an actor or something?
Yes, for a long time, I actually want to be in television, and recently I also want to do voiceover work as well.
Oh, nice. Huh, what prompted you to want to do voiceover work?
Well, when I was in college, I was asked to do some assignment. I did that, and I got feedback from one of my teachers saying, wow, you're very good. You should get into voice acting. I was like, okay, I'll consider it. And then over time, I posted content to social media at the time, which has been getting like hundreds of views back then. And even my mates at college have said, you should get into voice acting. Yeah, I know. That's what my teacher said. And then even when I got to uni, even my mates there have said, you should get into voice acting. Yes, I know. Like I haven't heard that like 50, 100 times.
And then eventually you said, okay, I'm going to do voice acting.
Yes. Then I eventually said, yes, I'm going to get into voice acting because that's what everyone's saying I should do because they seem to like it.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest, man. I would love to do all these things, but I feel like I would only have to do certain projects. I don't believe like, with my beliefs, I will get very far.
Yeah.
I just don't believe with my beliefs I will get very far. I mean, you could get very far with your beliefs, but that's only if you're willing to, like, compromise. That's only if you're willing to, like, do certain things that, like, compromise, or just compromise your beliefs and, like, what you believe in. And for the most part, I can say this: I'll do anything that does not compromise my beliefs, but I will not be making that. I just wouldn't make that much money.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Yeah, I've considered, like, doing voice acting, but at the same time I have been kind of just holding back on it because it's like, I don't know, it's like it's one of those things where it's like, okay, with AI out now, it's like, can't they just, like, replace our voice? But I think what Jacob told me, he said one thing. I forgot what he said, but but it, like, kind of gave me a little bit more confidence in, like, pursuing it. So, like, maybe someday, God willing, I will pursue it. But if I never do it, then I wouldn't say that's a life wasted. But I think I can do certain things that require my voice, or anything really that, like, requires, like, my voice. And if I never do anything in that, like, extent, then I'm not really gonna be mad about it. I'm gonna be like, that's one thing I wanted to do. I never done it. Too bad. I wanna.
Yeah.
I wanna.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but, like, for the most part, man. I mean, I'll say this, man. You definitely do have a strong voice to be a voice actor. So I say go for it. Is there anything that you would dream to be in as a voice actor or actor?
Not that I can think of. I just want to get involved in like the biggest projects, be in the biggest shows and movies. And I'm not just those kind of projects in the UK or the US. The reason I have told you this a week or two ago, that I'm using Duolingo, learning languages. So the reason I'm learning languages right now, not just to help with my mental and brain capacity, I'm learning languages so I can be flexible and versatile to be involved in projects in film, TV, and voiceover works in other countries around the world.
Got you. Okay, I understand. So pretty much you want to be flexible, like in almost like every language, so that you can voice, so that you can either act or voice act in certain projects that require you to speak another language.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, that sounds pretty good actually.
Yes. And of course, when people stick to not just the kinds of projects, but doing these projects in one specific location, specific country, at some point, things like that don't last forever. So it is important now, as you would in the stock market world, is to diversify what kind of projects you're doing. Not what kind, but where you're doing them.
Exactly. And I gotta say this is hey, it's just like rappers too, man. I mean, their success does not last in the United States, for a long time, unless obviously they comply to certain agendas. But so that's why certain artists travel outside the country, because although their fan base is a little bit faded in the United States, their fan base is still a large amount in other places as well. And yeah, it's like I've seen many artists go to Japan, go to other countries just to perform, because their fan base is still pretty strong in those countries. And I gotta say, so pretty much acting is essentially the same thing. I mean, because it's like there's only so much an actor can do in order to stay relevant, and especially in acting, especially in the United States. So it's like you would have to, and I'm gonna say this, you would probably have to do a whole lot in order to stay relevant in whatever country you're in. So I guess when your relevance starts to, pretty much when you're not that desirable, for to be to be hired for an acting job in your country, you can go to another country and do an acting job there. And or if you're an artist, just perform in another country if you have the funds obviously to do it, then yeah, I'd say for the most part you just got to plan for the future.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I gotta say it's a smart plan. It's a really smart plan. I mean, not a lot of people would be just that disciplined to learn another language just to ensure their future, in a specific profession. But I gotta say, man, it's pretty cool.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So so is that how long would you plan on doing it? Just for the rest of your life, or just until okay. Okay, cool. I gotta say, man, I wish you the best of luck, and for the most part, I wish you nothing but peace, and yeah, once again, nothing but luck, because
Thank you.
definitely gonna need it in the long run with this acting, and I would say, but yeah, another benefit of going to another country is if you're given a role that you don't agree with, you can just go to another country and do another thing, and that's something.
Yeah, that's very true. Yes, because even though other countries besides US and UK, they'll have their own biases as well and agendas, at least the competition is not as stiff and is not as saturated there. So long as I know the language, personally, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Hey, as long as you know the language, man. As long as you're able to speak fluently, throughout whatever scene they want you to be in. I gotta say, man, you're pretty good. You're pretty good all the way. I mean, I think they would be. I think they would be shocked, if they knew that you can speak the language. They'd
Yes,
probably, I'd say, most people probably wouldn't pick another person to do a role because they just assume that they can't speak the language. But I guess you would have to say, yes, I speak this language, and you'd have to kind of send in a tape if you have to prove to them that you can speak fluently in the language that you have that's required.
that's true. Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, I gotta say, man, wish you the best of luck. But is there anything is there also anything in the news as of late?
Yes. Have you heard of the Apple of healthcare?
I feel like I've heard something like that, but it does not ring that much of a bell. What is the Apple of healthcare?
Okay, so you know the founder of Spotify?
Well, no, not really.
That's alright, no one has. Anyway, the founder of Spotify is wanting to build a new wellness company where you pay $300 for a 1 hour appointment, you go inside this 360 surround scanner that scans your whole body while you stand, and it can point at, and it uses very advanced AI technology to point out any specific anomalies. It announces what kind of what's the likelihood that you can get cancer, anything in terms of your heart rate, are your organs functioning properly. There's so much more than I already listed that this technology, this quote Apple of healthcare is doing, and yeah, the only question is, given how advanced it is and how convenient it is for people to know the most amount of details and information of this technology, how long will it take for the doctors to be out of the job?
I'm sorry, just a minute.
All right. 3 hours later.
Sorry. Someone was coming in to check for the bathroom.
All right.
All right.
So I was saying, so this company, first of all, is called Neko, spelled Neko.
Wow, really?
Yes, that's the name of the company that has the scanner. It scans people's bodies, checks out for anomalies, the state of your organs, what are your likelihoods of catching whatever or having whatever. The question is, this is given how advanced the AI is for this company, how long will it take before the doctors go out of the jobs?
Huh. Oh yeah, that is a very interesting question. That is a very interesting question. I gotta say, like, man, this is definitely, yeah, that is some. I'm sorry, bro. It's like, the dude. I'm sorry. It's like, just a minute. The dude legitimately gave me attitude, like, coming in just for saying because I pointed to the bathroom and he assumed that I was like, he's like, you thought I was one of your dogs. It's like I was just pointing him to the bathroom because, like, I'm on a call. But I'm sorry, my head is a bit shaken real quick from that. It's like I was just telling him to go to the bathroom to check. But whew, all right. But yeah, like, that definitely is something interesting that you said, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like yeah. So, like, is there anything else in the news?
Yeah, I also sent something not once but twice that there's this video on Instagram. There's a mother with her son that is like, I don't know, toddler age range, and I'm not going to get into the details because, well, firstly, it is not family friendly, even though there's a young child. That her physical display did not look family friendly. And when I tried to report it, which I never thought I would do, but here we are, I tried to report it, and there's no other options to report it. And looking at the comments, they're also like, what on earth is this? Why would Instagram allow this video to stay up? Surely there has to be some kind of age rating system
I mean,
to
hey,
prevent people of that certain age to watch these kind of videos.
hey, man, like, it is definitely weird that Instagram would allow a video like that to stay up. It's a bit weird, but then again, Instagram has been in hell for a while, so it's like Instagram is decent, but it's like, it's just some of the stuff that they keep up that, it's kind of weird that they keep it up, but it is what it is at the end of the day. We can't really do anything about it. All we can do is simply just talk about it. Yeah, I mean, but I do believe if they're gonna keep that up, then, like, they should block it from, like, certain, like, age, from, like, certain people who are, like, not of appropriate age, because ultimately speaking, it's like, kids can see stuff like that, and they shouldn't be able to see stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, yeah, for the most part, it's like, with Instagram, it's a whole different animal. I mean, like, for the most part, it's like you can't really control what is on Instagram and what is not on Instagram. All you can really do is, try to be the change, but in reality, it's like, I'd say even if a person tries to, like, make a change or be a change or, like, express a change, people will not. People pretty much will not, I would say, be able to, like, change anything of significance. I always say that because it's true. I mean, you can only do so much. I mean, you have people talking about like certain problems, and only like a specific amount of people will wake up. A specific amount of people won't wake up. But at the end of the day, you just gotta keep hope because like things have to get worse in order for it to get better again. As like I always said, it just they
Yeah, indeed.
yeah. But for the for the most part, but like for the most part, I gotta say, man, but keep explaining like about like the video you were talking about.
Silent. Hello there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I was saying like just like keep like explaining like what you were talking about.
Yeah, so shoot. What was I talking about again?
I think you were talking about an Insta like a video that was inappropriate on Instagram, like
Oh
for
yes.
yeah
Yes, the woman with a child, public uh some kind of physical indecency. Yeah,
yeah
like
yeah
I don't get that.
yeah I don't
Why
really
would they why they
yeah I don't get it either. I mean there's a bunch of women who do disgraceful things like that, but once again it's like all you can really do is report her, and all you can really do is voice your concerns and report her to like the appropriate people to report to. Because ultimately speaking, it's like we can't do anything. Only the people who are controlling the platforms can do something about that. And I hope they do something about it because, like, honestly speaking, it's like that's not something that like should be shared with with the internet, let alone children who are on the internet. Unfortunately, now I'll be honest, I'm not against children like having phones who are teenagers because it's like there's a point where it's like you gotta like give your child a phone, but I don't know if you're like but like since like it's been like known that like there are the young kids who are younger than that who have phones for some odd reason and aren't playing with phones, man. It's like you really got to be careful. You really got to be careful, man. Or I don't know. At least like have somehow have a feature on Instagram where it separates like adult content with child content. It's like give the children something to like be entertained by, rather than like just exposing them to like all these things that adults or like other kids are doing that are bad. So like their minds aren't corrupt. I mean, granted, with mindless entertainment, kids' minds are corrupted regardless. Depending on what you let them watch, but you know, depending on if it's good or bad. But I'd rather grow my kid up with like something good that like would shape them to be a better man than or a woman in the future when they get older, than like shape them like with stuff mind numbing, brainless, brain rot content.
Yes, absolutely.
Like yeah, for the most part, it's very unfortunate, but hey, it is what it is at the end of the day. So
Yes.
you just have to kind of have to not live with it. Obviously, voice your concerns, report the woman if you have to, and or report anybody if you have to. Really, even report the kids who are too young to be on the internet. But still, it's like to a degree, it's like you have to do something.
Indeed.
Yeah, but is there anything else in the news?
I got a question.
What's up?
What is the greatest irony of life?
That is a good question. I have no idea. I can't. I mean, if I can't. I mean, but what I mean by that is like I legitimately cannot think of anything right now. But I know there's a bunch of them. What do you think?
Well, I've seen a YouTube short video that discusses on that very question. And the answer to that is being rewarded the same amount, being rewarded the same abundance that you already have so much of. Like, for example, this is most reference to the law of attraction. Even though we have more than enough of something that makes us feel good and makes us look good, like we have enough wealth financially, we know enough knowledge on a certain subject, yet somehow we've been rewarded with more amounts of wealth and knowledge on certain subjects. Yet people with so little amount of it, no matter how hard they try, they just won't get it. It's only those that already have it that be given too much, so much more of it, even though what they already have is just enough. That's the irony of life. No matter how hard you try to get something, unless you already have it to begin with, you're just not going to get it.
You know, that is a pretty good point. Huh. You know, yeah. That is definitely a pretty good point, man. And I will say this. I will say this. I don't have a definitive answer of what the irony of life truly is, but like, your answer is definitely something to really think about and like, really consider in thought because yeah, that is definitely ironic. And I guess if I had to say like, if there's an irony of life, I would say like, for the most part, I see people getting mad, and this is just my personal like, diagnosis slash belief. There are people who get mad about certain things and blame God for it, but in reality, it's our fault. It's our faults for those bad things that are happening because a human can choose to like, not do terrible things, but it is by our free will that we choose to do these terrible things because we want to. But in reality, instead of blaming God, it's like you should really be blaming yourself and blaming like humans. You should be mad. You should be mad at humans. Well, you shouldn't really be mad at anybody, but if you were to be mad, you should be mad more at like humankind because we can definitely be so much better than what we are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's like people are just mad. People are just mad at like mad at like God or the higher power for like what is going on. But in reality, God doesn't want this to happen. He gives you the free will for it to happen. But in reality, real love is you coming to Him and saying, "I messed up. I messed up, and I want to have a relationship with you and be with you for the rest of like my life." And, yeah, I'd say like that's really the irony in life. Like and it can come from any ages, whether you be like a teenager to an adult. You can be mad at what someone else did, then blame God for not stopping it. But in reality, instead of like looking at the negatives, you should look at the positives. Like if was anybody hurt? Were you hurt? Were you killed? Was anybody else killed? If that wasn't the case, then like you should definitely count your blessings for that because it's like it could have been way worse. It could have been way worse for you. And there are people out there, whether they're homeless or just like have homes and are dealing with other stuff that are probably dealing with far worse than you. That's how I think about it. I'm not in the best position. Well, I'm in a decent position. I have a nice apartment, but like obviously I want to do better in the future. But I say this, I'm grateful that I at least have somewhere to like go home to. I'm grateful that I at least have my 3 dogs and that I have my mother, my father, my family in general. And yeah, so I just try to look at life as what I have. I might not have everything, but I have more than what some people have, and that is something to be grateful for.
Indeed.
Yeah, but like for them, but like what is the next question if you have any more?
Well, not many more questions I can think of. However, and I think you have said this, and this is quite an astonishment. So this Greek TikToker with 480,000 followers has announced that she is going to become a nun.
Nice. W, that's great. Any reason why she decided to become a nun?
Not that I would know of. All I've heard is Greek TikToker becomes nun. And you know what? Given that she has like hundreds of thousands of followers, I feel like she could have been one of those women that could possibly start an OnlyFans if she wanted to, or at least could be one of those women, and I don't want to assume anything negatively of it, but one of those women that isn't fully aware of how the society we live in works. Like, she has so much of what a lot of women want, yet she decided to be faithful and stay true to her faith.
Hey man, I gotta say this. It seems from the looks of her, she probably made her money. She probably did. She probably did exactly what she had to do. But ultimately speaking, she saw that it didn't satisfy her, so she decided to become like a nun and devote her life to the Most High, Jesus Christ. And I gotta say, man, that is very commendable. That woman is amazing, and like may God be with her. And for the most part, being faithful, being like staying faithful to your faith, man, is way better than like you doing anything else in the world. And because for the most part, I believe that like you will truly die. You will truly die happy. Like because here's the thing: if you knew that you live, if you know that you lived your life as like faithful to the Lord Jesus Christ, and obviously you lived a life like a Christian should live, then yeah, it's like you're gonna be happy, and comfortable, knowing exactly where you're gonna go when you die. Because ultimately speaking, I see in this generation, most people tend to live in the moment. Most people tend to just live in the moment, just like worry about this life rather than the next life. But it was on my heart. It was on my heart today. It's like it was on my heart. You can make all the money in the world. You can make as much money as you possibly can, but that's not gonna go with you. And I don't know. It's like from a young age, I just intrinsically did not care about money. I knew that I had to make it in order to get to where I wanted to get, but it's like having a deep love for a piece of paper that can be devalued at any given point is the stupidest thing that I've ever seen in the world or heard.
Absolutely.
It's like that is the stupidest thing that you can possibly do. Valuing paper. That's like me taking a post-it and saying, "Oh, this has value," but in reality, it doesn't. But if the government gives a paper value, it has value, and then people are robbing each other, stealing and killing. I can say like, yeah, I mean, I can say like, I can say any piece of paper has value. I can say like, the book that I have has value. I can say the Bible has value. Well, the Bible does have value, but a different type of value that you'll only benefit for if you read it. Not only in this life, but in the next life. This like the Bible has value to me. It might not have like, financial value or financial gain, like, but it has value to me. The point is like, we value things based on our own accord, but ultimately the government is the one who makes the piece of paper, the money, valuable. And within a couple of years, it won't even be valuable anymore. So people are doing all of these stupid things just for a piece of paper to no longer be valuable. And most people are going to be deceived. Most people are going to be deceived. Most people are going to get the mark, and most people aren't gonna. Most people are going to regret getting that mark because ultimately speaking, you're going to be separated from God for all eternity. So it's like I gotta say, man, it's like it's definitely gonna be like something to like look forward to, for the both for positives and negatives. Positives because it's like for the believer and for the people who know, they know not to get it, but negatively for the disbelievers because like it's like, look, yeah, you'll get what you want in this life, but when you die, man, you're gonna be separated from the Lord because you decided that you wanted to get a mark, pay for things, thinking that it's cool. And then, I really don't know. I really don't know how to like, put it more nicely than that. Me saying like, me instead of saying like, you're going to hell and saying separated from God is probably the nicest way you can put it. It's the same place, but for the most part, I just have to say, yeah. I'll be honest. I think I lost the plot. I feel like I lost the plot of what I was talking about. But it was still a great message nonetheless.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So true.
yeah. And for the most part, I say like, as for that woman, wish her the best and may God be with her. And I just hope she stays safe and I hope like, nothing bad happens to her. And yeah, it's like, some people will understand, some people won't understand. Even to an extent, it's like for people who don't understand, they're like, why do you follow this? Why do you do this? They only like, say, okay, you're not quote unquote shoving it down their throats is when you just like, talk about it, then like move on, or just like people just. But like in reality, nobody wants to have that conversation because it's like I said this before on my Instagram. It's like people are too in love with their own self pleasures, and since like want to follow God, they don't want to because they love themselves or love whatever's causing them to sin more than God, and it's sad, but it's true. But I believe that like this country in of itself is like having a spiritual awakening. Some people are obviously worshiping the wrong idols, Donald Trump, but Kamala Harris, if she even has people worshiping her, or Taylor Swift actually. A friend of mine months ago told me that like his like told me one of his teachers called Taylor Swift her Lord and Savior, and I'm like, what?
Why?
I don't know. It's like, really? She identified as a Swiftie, and I'm like, what the bro? Really? Identifying as a Swiftie as a grown woman who's probably single is crazy. And it's like, really just idolizing Taylor Swift like that is like I see she has talent, but it's like, bro, she's a bit overrated.
You know, I
She
agree with that.
she's a bit overrated. I mean, like, bro, it's like I see the talent. She has talent. What I'm saying is like, bro, what is there to worship? What exactly is there to worship? And on top of that, I'm not gonna say Taylor Swift is ugly because she's not, but she definitely doesn't have anything to, it's like she's a pretty mid woman. She's a mid woman. She's not ugly, but she's also not that.
There isn't much. There's nothing else extraordinary about her that is worth being put over other people.
Exactly. She's not necessarily that desirable. She's desirable, but I mean,
She's not that desirable.
exactly. And it's like I don't get it. I personally don't, but hey,
It is what it is, and it was what it was.
exactly. And Swifties, I'm calling. I'm joking. I don't care. I don't care about this
Neither do I.
about the Swifties, man. But fan base is crazy too, man. It's like they track certain people down too, and it's like, dang, bro, she's just a woman.
It's not that deep, man.
It's not. And I would also even say about Donald Trump too, is like he's just a man, and I'm like,
Again, it's not that deep.
it really isn't. I mean, I don't hate Donald Trump. I don't.
And everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but come on.
It's like, bro,
If that's the only thing that's going in your life, come on, man. Do something else.
exactly. Who is Trump, man? Is Trump your Lord and Savior? Like, come on, man. He isn't gonna do much in 4 years, let alone save the world. He isn't gonna do much in 4 years. He's gonna do some in a little bit in 4 years.
But it won't be enough.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It won't be enough. It's gonna be some enough to satisfy certain people, but it's not gonna be enough. It really isn't. It really isn't gonna be enough. It's only gonna be some, but not a whole lot. Because it's like, man, like if you really put your trust that Donald Trump is gonna save the world, then man, you are in for a disappointing ride. This roller coaster ride will definitely have its ups and downs and all arounds, but towards the end you'll be dissatisfied. With that he didn't do everything that he said that you wanted him to do. And apparently, oh yeah, right. I've heard some news that apparently Donald Trump denied like a second debate with Kamala Harris or something like that.
About that, actually.
Huh?
I've actually heard one source, and yes, BBC, I know, I don't know why, that I've heard that there was an agreement to have Harris and Trump have a second debate on.
Huh. Oh yeah, right. CNN. I definitely did hear of that. And Kamala accepted it via Twitter, and she said, "I hope Donald Trump accepts this."
And Trump did accept.
Yeah, and Trump didn't accept. You said?
Yeah, Trump did accept it. So
Yeah.
it's likely to happen.
Oh, Trump did accept it.
Now all we need to do is wait for an exact date for it to happen.
Well, let's see. Kamala get. Let's see how much. Let's see how much of that coaching pays off for Kamala, Miss Harris, because it's just clear as day that she's getting coached, or I don't know. There's some sort of earpiece, something in her ear. But I'm gonna give her this. She's probably getting coached through it all and saying, "This is what you need to say, this, that, etc. Make these points. Make this point." Yeah, I'll say she's getting coached, and there's nothing wrong with getting coached. Nothing wrong. Kamala definitely does need coaching. Yeah,
But regardless how much help she's getting, again, Trump and Harris are going to be debating on a news outlet which that has favorability mainly towards Democrats. So this is similar to ABC. So of course, people are going to be saying that Kamala is going to have some helps, that there's going to be questions spoon-fed, or someone saying there's going to be questions given to her beforehand. There's always going to be claims like that. I'm not going to say if it's true. I'm not saying it's false, but I do know that the news broadcaster that's holding this next debate, that most of the time they have shown favorability towards Democrats. So this is another challenge for Trump to go through, like he did with ABC. The question is, can he keep it chill, or at least don't crack under the pressure like he did on ABC? Because even though he did say what he had to say, and well, despite what he had to say, there were times, yeah, he'd get agitated, and I feel slightly uncomfortable when he gets agitated because even though you're under pressure, what do you expect? You were on a newscast that doesn't see you or your party so favorably. So of course there's going to be pressure like that. But that doesn't mean you should show it. You need to be as calm as you can. Never let any obstacles or distractions get the best of you.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna lie. The main thing that is turning certain people off with Donald Trump is the fact that he keeps mentioning Israel, 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 Israel. And so essentially, like, some people are saying he's putting Israel first before America. And some people don't even want to vote for him anymore. Most people will vote for him still. But, that's turning some people off a bit because it's like, the war and all that stuff. And, and how, like, Israel is to the public and to the public eye. People are still trying to understand why all these politicians put Israel first. I would assume it has something to do with money, but I wouldn't really know.
Yeah, and also I think if there was a candidate that gone against Israel, I don't think we've heard much of that candidate anyway, because well, Trump isn't the only one that has spoken favorably towards Israel. Kamala Harris has also spoken favorably towards Israel.
Yeah,
I personally, I believe Trump might have a slight advantage because there have been times he flown over to Israel, met with Netanyahu. So, and I think Netanyahu already knows Trump personally already. So, I think it just comes down to the day of the election and the people, of course, because well, we all know how the system is in the US. You get two options, pick one of the two, whoever gets the most votes and gets the most electoral votes, boom, that's your next president of the next 4 years.
I mean, I would say, like, for the most part, yeah. I mean, for any like, candidate that does not speak favorably, like, on Israel, I would say for the most part, yeah, pretty much that candidate won't be pushed, or if that candidate is extremely popular with the people, they'll probably be RF like JFK.
Yeah,
So it's like it's either they won't push you if you're popular but you're not as big as like Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, you'll just pretty much be ignored. You'll pretty much be ignored, and they'll let you say what you got to say. But ultimately speaking, and yeah, you will reach out to certain people, but you won't necessarily make a dent. And as for if you do make a dent on your own without, like, the media having to be involved, then yeah, they'll probably end up RFKing you, or just like you know silencing you to a degree. Whether if it be them briding you and saying, hey, we want you to like stop talking about this for a bit, and or like, yeah, for the
yeah,
most part, they'll just do either one of those two. And I'd say, like, if you have a, like, a genuine conviction, you will not accept any brides, any brides, and you'll, like, bribes, not brides, bribes, and you'll preach your message till like the end of your life, until the end of your own life. It sounds scary. It sounds scary, and it is, because it's like this is your life. But ultimately speaking, if you believe that you are telling the truth and you die, you'll pretty much be a martyr. You'll pretty much be a martyr. And like,
yeah,
but yeah, for the most part, I gotta say, like, there's really, I would say, besides RFK, man, there has not been any candidate who has spoken out on anything in regards to, like, in pretty much there hasn't been a candidate that has been as good. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm looking at right. We have to wait 4 years for that. Right. Okay. Never mind. Okay. Yeah. I'm willing to see who will step up in 4 years. I can't wait to see who's actually going to step up in 4 years, who actually cares about the country, who actually wants better for the country, and who will not compromise. Although I gotta say, some of these politicians are probably just installed, just promote a specific agenda and promote something, anything really. I gotta say, like, they definitely got to Trump in a way. They got to Trump, and yeah. So essentially, I can't say Trump was installed, but in a way he kind of was. But they definitely got to him. They're definitely paying him a huge amount not to talk about certain things, but just not, but just to hold back a bit.
Yeah.
But is there anything else in the news?
There was a TikTok video I downloaded, and it kind of discusses BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, well, mainly BlackRock. How that it's not just BlackRock investing other big corporations. Big corporations are also investing into BlackRock and other corporations within it. They're pretty much investing in themselves, installing their own people to push along whatever ideas or proposals they want to enact amongst the masses.
That's pretty interesting. That is pretty interesting. That is definitely pretty interesting. What are your thoughts on that video you watched?
Well, on one hand, not that surprised, because it's a free market. You can pretty much buy as much stock as you like, have so much control of a corporation, a company, etc. And the way it was described in that video, how corporations are investing to each other, as well as BlackRock with corporations and vice versa. Yeah, that makes sense, because if you have your own people having shares within your company, this leaves no room for any other outside influence to say you can't do that because that's an outrage. It's criminal. So having your own people within your own company promotes kind of like this echo chamber, which kind of bounces back the same ideas you had to begin with and doesn't allow any outside influence to get in the mix.
Okay. Nice. Huh. Okay. That's it. Wow. That's actually pretty interesting.
Yes.
I can't even lie. That is pretty interesting.
Yes, that is very smart.
Yeah. I gotta say, for the most part, it's like, no words.
No words.
Yeah. So it's like, is there anything else?
Let's see. Oh yes. I've heard that Labour held a conference this week. I haven't paid attention to that conference, but I have heard one news source saying that there's been Palestine protests outside the Labour conference.
Oh man, the Palestine protest, was it the one with the trans flag?
I wouldn't know. All I've heard is there was a Palestine protest outside Labour conference, and that was it.
Oh, because I definitely saw a Palestine protest somewhere. I don't really know where it was at, but I definitely saw like a trans flag, and I'm like, the Muslims are just like anybody who supports who's straight and is a conservative isn't really gonna like this. Especially the Muslim community. They didn't like it, but I'm like, hey, you guys are. It's like it just is what it is, bro.
And it was what it was.
Exactly, and it's like, yeah, I knew I had a good feeling they weren't gonna like it. I mean, hey, it's like, but at the end of the day, it's like, I saw this one video where it said that Muslims vote Democrat because it's like they'll be able to spread their agenda, and I'm like, hey man, some of your people purposely support let the trans people or like the LGBTQ support them so that you can spread your own agenda. So it's like this technically isn't against it's yeah they purposely align themselves with people they disagree with inherently in order to get far is essentially what I'm trying to say, and it's true. They do. I've definitely seen it, and it's like it's definitely happening on the internet. No matter how many people want to disagree with them, who are of the Muslim faith, it's like, bro, it's like, yeah, it's like you guys allow that to happen. So therefore, of course, the people, the LGBTQ is gonna put up their own thing in support of Palestine, and of course that's gonna happen. I mean, hey, it is what it is. At the end of the day, these are the people you're aligning with. So I can't even say I'm surprised. I can't even say I'm surprised by that. It's like, me personally, it's like, I don't support either or side. I just want the war to stop. I think that's the right side to be on, and people are gonna be like, "Oh yeah, you support killings and all that stuff." I don't. On either side, both Israel and Palestine. So come to a conclusion and stop the fighting, stop the war. And yeah, hey man, we'll hopefully live a slightly happily ever after. And I say slightly because it's not always going to be happy, and it's not always going to be an ever after. The only happily ever after is going to come when Jesus Christ returns, and yeah, and when he rules on earth for 1,000 years. That is legitimately the only way this world's going to get better. And so gotta get right with God. I'm always gonna say that because like it's true, man. It's like you got to get right with God. But for the most part, amen. There's never really gonna be a happily ever after. And if there is a happily ever after, it's gonna be a temporary happily ever after, and then things are gonna get bad again. So it's like regardless, you gotta choose a side. It's like you
Yeah,
gotta choose what you're gonna do.
yes. Or at least take the side of a specific value cause. Like, you don't have to take the side of any fighting opposition. You can just side with what aftermath do you want. Like, I want peace. Now, it's not now peace in general, all over. It's not likely to happen anytime soon. But at some point, aspects of it will happen for sure.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. It's like aspects of it will happen over time, and you just got to be patient. You just got to be diligent, and continue practicing continue doing what you're doing, and trying to spread the good word. Try to spread the good word of well, personally, me, I'd say spread the good word of God, but like most people won't do that, especially if they're not of the Christian faith or any other faith, just to say the least. So I just say just do what you got to do. Pretty much do what you got to do, spread the cause, ultimately speaking, and don't comply, obviously, to certain ideologies, because ultimately speaking, you're gonna get lost in the sauce, essentially speaking, and you're eventually gonna get lost, regardless. I say anything outside of God, it's pretty much there are people who think that they have it all together, and there are people who find godliness in their own self gain. But in reality, it's like, but those are also the same people who are okay with being ignorant to the truth, whether that be the truth of the Bible or the truth of well, the truth of the world is in the Bible, but I'll say from a worldly standpoint, the truth of what is going on in the world. There are certain people who are okay with being ignorant. There are certain people who are not okay with being ignorant, and you gotta align yourself with either one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and this is also some stuff that I quoted from the Bible. It's something that I read recently. It's something that I actually read recently. It was in First Timothy chapter 6 of the Bible. That's actually something that I actually quoted from the Bible. How some people are fine just knowing nothing. But I gotta say, for the most part, yeah, just choose a side. Choose which side you're gonna go on. Your move, libs. Your move, conservatives.
Yeah,
Yeah, but is there anything else?
yeah, it's actually. Yeah, I've actually said something in the chat that my uncle is running to be a councillor for Senador Canedo, which is like a region which is outside the city of Goiânia in the state of Goiás, where my family's from.
We talked about how you're gonna get many opportunities, but man, this is just creating even more opportunities. Essentially, hey, man, that's great to hear. And what's his position, if I might ask?
Well, I'm not sure what he stands for, but I know that the party he's representing to be a councillor is the PSD, which is like Party of Social Democrats.
Ah, okay, so he's a Democrat.
Not in the sense of Brazilian politics. The position that PSD stands is like center right.
Ah, got you. Okay. Okay. Well, I definitely wish him the best of luck. Would
Me
you be?
too.
Yeah. So I'll be honest, maybe I'll be honest. That's definitely interesting, man. Speaking of which, would you well, I mean, you said you wanted to be an actor, so I can't really ask if you would consider doing the same thing he's doing.
Fair enough.
If the opportunity presented itself. I would say for me, when it comes to I guess since we're talking about this, I can talk about the presidency again. When it comes to being president, I would consider it. Obviously, I wouldn't consider doing it now because I'm young and, well, not gonna lie, my attention span is just not that. It's just not that good. But obviously, with prayer and like obviously practice, that can be improved. And for the most part, I would say if the time comes and the time calls, then yeah, I'd consider it. I'd say like being the president would be pretty cool, and I definitely consider it. Because but at the same time, I don't see a point in doing it because it's like I don't know. It's like if what we're going through is predestined, then like there's really genuinely no point, in my opinion.
I agree.
There's just genuinely no point. But ultimately speaking, I guess if I can somehow make a change and make my country a little bit better, then I'm willing to do it. God willing, if God allows me to like do some of these things that I would like to do, then I'd say, hey, I'm down. I'm down. Let's do it.
Yeah.
But it's like a young Donald Trump said. Well, I wouldn't be running to lose. He actually did say that when he was younger. It's like when they were talking about the presidency. Not gonna lie, no homo. He was pretty decent looking when he was younger, man. It's like definitely I can see why women would flock to him like when he was younger. He was decent
Yeah.
looking. Yeah, it's like
Yeah, I agree.
I gotta say, man, like so yeah, it's like he's. I'm not gonna say he was handsome, bro, but I'll say he's decent looking.
Yeah,
That's what I.
he had those looks in his youth that attract a lot of women back
Yeah,
then.
but now he has the money.
Yes.
He always had the money, but it's like he had the money and looks. Now he just has the money, and
Yeah. It
and
happens at some point.
yeah, I mean unless you're trying to be like The Rock and trying to maintain your youth or hold on to your youth for a little while longer. But I'd say for the most part, hey, he had it going on. He had the money, he had the looks, and he had the full head of hair, and hey, but he has a wife. He has a wife, a beautiful wife, respectfully, a beautiful wife, and hey, so like he's doing pretty good for himself. He has always been doing good for himself, and I say, like, man, if he wins, he wins. If Kamala wins, she wins. But regardless, I'd say each side is going to be somewhat disappointed. Regardless,
Yes.
yeah, because it's like they're just not, especially in Kamala, because like if Kamala wins, she's not going to deliver. She's not going to deliver on most of what she said. And I believe I saw like this interview where she was talking about money, giving out money, and I'm like, okay, after that, then what?
What's the next phase?
Yet she wasn't really making any good points. She wasn't really making any good points or answering the question. And this girl said FUPA supremacy being heavy set, extremely heavy set.
All right then.
Someone said online, one thing I like about fall/winter is it forces you big fours to cover up. He said, but I just said 3 or 4s. That's not funny, but it's like I'm just gonna say this is more than a FUPA. It's how do I put it? Jelly, just jelly rolls, jelly. Just that's all I'm gonna say. Anyways, yeah, but let me scroll away from that actually. But yeah, like anything else?
No, I think that's it.
All right, cool.